thank you so much for coming back and celebrating this very special event, 50 years of celebration for McCormick Hall.
I'm really honored to be a part of your celebration of this anniversary. I think this is the first MIT alumni event that I've attended that is predominantly women. And it's delightful. Thank you.
Well, first of all, in the 50th anniversary, I don't feel like we should be having a 50th anniversary because it was just yesterday that we were students here. It can't possibly be that long ago. But what Linda and I entered in about the third year that McCormick was open.
Yes.
So we've been associated with McCormick almost the entire time of its existence.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for coming. As probably most of you know, MIT accepted women almost from the time it opened its doors in the 1860s, but there had never been a place on campus to house them, so it never took very many women. McCormick Hall allowed MIT to begin to admit more of us, and we came.
When we entered in September '67, McCormick Hall, the first wing, was overcrowded. They were building the suites, but they weren't open yet. So we had to have a triple our first semester. And then in January of 1968, they opened up the second wing. So we were given the opportunity to be the first co-eds to live in the beautiful new second section with the suites. And for the next 3.5 years, we had a beautiful time up on the top of the 7th floor with a beautiful view and a wonderful experience.
I chose MIT because there were 60 women in a class, and everywhere else where I wanted to study engineering, they either didn't admit them or there weren't any. So I figured, since I was coming from a high school with 60 women in my class, that this would be okay. I would still have some friends and a community to be in.
One of the alumni emailed our housemaster about an idea she had for our 50th anniversary, which was a memory quilt. And then our housemaster directed her to me, since I'm the sewing room chair, to see if I could kind of get things going on the student side. And basically the idea is that both alumni and current students can contribute squares of their favorite memory of McCormick, and we would put it together in a giant quilt that'll be put on exhibition in McCormick.
When we first came to McCormick, Mrs. McCormick was alive. She was a remarkable woman. And we lived through a great deal of social change, and to be associated with a dorm that was funded by this remarkable woman who was part of that social change for women. It's my presence as a part of history.
I have to say that, as with her relative anonymity at MIT, Catherine Dexter McCormick is not well known publicly, despite having funded almost single-handedly the development of oral contraception.
You know, it just blows you away. You have this Victorian woman who believes that women do need suffrage. She also believes that women need the right to control their own bodies. But she also knew you could apply science to figure out how to make it work, and that's what we're about here.
So you've now heard about a co-ed who was here more than 100 years ago, and through whose largesse most of the rest of us are here today. Now we're going to turn to live reports from more recent alumni.
Everyone in our class and probably for classes through to the present have met disparaging remarks and assumptions that the women can't do it and don't belong in whatever they're doing. And you really do need a little bit of grit. And I think it must have been built into the walls and ceilings and floors of McCormick.
When Barbara and I were here, there were lots of rules for women. We had curfews, and boys were only allowed in at certain hours, and doors had to be kept open. I just wonder, were there lots of rules by the time you were there, or had they gone out the window too?
I don't remember too many rules about that, to tell you the truth. So in 1971, I would think all the bathrooms were co-ed. And I don't think, it was very loose. Loose. In a good way.
When I thought about my most fond memories of McCormick, they really are all related to my sorority. My sorority was founded here in 1977, and McCormick was where it was chartered. And my sorority is Alpha Kappa Alpha, and two of the women who pledged me are right here. And actually, McCormick and the sorority really were the start of a lot of my lifelong memories. And a lot of things that I've learned about philanthropy came from the sorority and also through living in McCormick.
I think we all experience this when we're here. It's a very intense place where, yes, once you make it through, you're like, I can really accomplish and achieve anything now that I've survived it. But during those years, every semester, it's really helpful to have that sense of community around you. And I think that was the best part about living in McCormick. My roommate, the housemasters, the tutors, and having that community of the mixed classes there from freshmen through seniors.
The magical thing that MIT really does is that you don't, or at least I certainly never felt like there was some sort of a barrier or shortcoming for me as a woman getting into MIT and doing what I wanted to at MIT. I literally never felt as if it was any sort of an issue. I felt like when I graduated, I could do anything that I wanted in any industry that I wanted to.
Our communities are composed of such diverse individuals who come from so many different backgrounds and bring so many different experiences and perspectives that are definitely going to change the world.
Today's session was wonderful. I learned a tremendous amount. We heard some very inspirational accounts of some very highly successful students, and especially women students. And I'd like to highlight one more, and that's Margaret McVicker. She came up with this idea of doing an undergraduate research program. It's really a sincere tribute to Margaret McVicker that she established this program as a junior faculty member with minimal funding, and that has really flourished and become an indispensable part of our education.
It is the nature of MIT students to join together and do things. It's the motto, Mind and Hand, describes not only our academic program, but the everyday lives of MIT students. Now, if students are going to join together to do things, they need places to gather and to do. As you know and have experienced, one of Catherine Dexter McCormick's visions for McCormick Hall was that residents would use as many attractive, functional common spaces to, quote unquote, extend gracious hospitality to the rest of the campus. And I'm happy to report that to this day, McCormick continues to be a social and creative hub for campus life. Our room, some of you know, is a gym, some of you know, is a dance studio. Since the early 90s, has served as an incubator for a variety of dance groups, some of which you'll see perform in just a few minutes. It's certainly true that McCormick is much more than its building. It's the people, and it's the people and the memories that have brought you all here together, but it also is a building. And as a building, it has helped to foster all sorts of creativity, all sorts of activities, all sorts of connections that would not have been made if that building had not been there. It's a glorious place to live. It's a glorious place to be a student. It's a glorious place to just to wander around on a random night during the semester, to see people hopping around, to see people singing, to see people eating, to see people studying, doing all sorts of great things. So every generation it changes, but it's always the case that something great and active is going on in that wonderful building.
It was a gift to us all, and we're just part of that. It's just really, really, really exciting to know that that's where you come from and who you belong to.